A record $1.1 billion of Bitcoin shorts was liquidated yesterday, sending Bitcoin soaring to 118K. It wasn't 18K. It's 118K, Nico. But the real question is, what if this is just the beginning of the short squeeze? What if this is just the beginning of what's to come for the rest of the year? And really considering that retail is nowhere to be found, today we're going to be exploring why we think, or maybe it's why I think the bull run hasn't even started yet. So let's get into this. Of course, I got Nico sitting here in the co-host seat, and we do have a guest. We have Lennart, CTO Byte Federal, with us here today as well. Let me dive into some of the source material. We'll break this down. I got a lot of tweets here, guys. Yes, I know, all-time high. It feels great. You know, hey, we made it, guys. We're back. We're no longer in the gulags out there.
I think I feel something. Like a tingle.
We'll troll Nico a little bit. I didn't pull up your tweet, but we'll pull that up. I think we'll pull that up. We'll talk about that. All right, guys. So as you can see here, Bitcoin Mag tweeted, and I got all the data for you guys. Just in $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and of course some crypto shorts got liquidated in the past 24 hours. We're back. If you watched yesterday's show, while we were live on the show, it was at like 113, and then I got done. I had to go run some errands, and I had all my friends blowing me up. Like, dude, we're at 116, 117. I was talking to my infamous friend who's a bear, and he's starting to turn bullish, and then it went to 118. So we didn't get the 10K candle yesterday, but it was like 8 to 9K candle. Maybe it's like 9K the last 2 days. But hey, it feels good. It's not euphoria yet. Just go to your Twitter, and I already pulled it up for you. I comment. Pull up my comment on there. So it's feeling good. It's like we're finally breaking out. It's starting to feel like, okay, hey, we might not be in the bull run parabolic phase, but I think it's just starting. And when you start, maybe go to my Twitter, but when you start to see the price move, when you see these shorts get liquidated like we saw yesterday, usually and historically that means the price is going to go higher. So I'm over here on CoinGlass. We're going to look at the liquidation data. As you can see here, in the last 24 hours, there has been $1.1 billion that have been liquidated in shorts. Obviously, this is why we saw that jump from 113 up to 116, 117 yesterday. It wasn't just Bitcoin, but if you're shorting any of the markets right now, you're kind of doing it wrong. And here is like the crazy kind of data point for Bitcoin here, is that we saw the biggest Bitcoin short liquidation event in years. And you can see this is the past year, maybe a year and some change, 2 years, and it is just dwarfing everything else. So it's starting to look like if you are getting bearish right now, if you're thinking about shorting Bitcoin, you probably shouldn't be doing that at this point. It's not to say you should probably be longing right now, because who knows, the volatility could get crazy, but you should be in spot Bitcoin at this point. It looks like we are entering the parabolic upward trend towards the end of the year. As I've been saying, vindicated here on the show again, as always. Opti's always vindicated here. And Nico's a perma bear. But it looks like it looks like we are starting to get what we've all been waiting for. As I was kind of trolling, I was telling our Twitter team this morning, if you watch Simply Bitcoin, we do have this running joke here that we are scamming you into profits with our titles and content here. Actually, but every viewer of Simply Bitcoin is in profit right now.
To be fair, that was Rockstar.
Yeah, it was Rockstar. It was Rockstar. Okay, so I have other stuff here, but I really want to open up the panel.
And I also don't want to say scam either.
I know, that's the point.
That's the point. Listen, guys, we're just trying to get you to click on Bitcoin content, because Bitcoin is the truth. Bitcoin
and we want you to buy Bitcoin.
Is the real money, and we truly believe that because it is the real money, you change your unit of account to sound money, and your life gets better. That's all we're trying to do. And there are some tools and there are some tactics that you can use to incentivize people to click on your videos. I think that's what you meant to say, Opti.
I know. I was leaning into Rockstar's meme here because they call us clickbait scammers.
But we're
but
not.
Everyone,
But we're not.
everyone that watches our show is officially in profit here. So if you listen to us and bought Bitcoin, you're good to go. Anyways, Nico, let's talk about these liquidations first, and then I have a lot of information coming on the back end today. The ETFs are going crazy, and then we're seeing seemingly the worst start of the year for the dollar. So the real take here is maybe Bitcoin isn't pumping per se. It's that the dollar is losing its purchasing power. If you're saving in anything other than Bitcoin, you are absolutely getting wrecked. So, Nico, let's touch on this these liquidations here. Actually, let's pull up your tweet here. Here, I'll pull it up. You go a little bit.
I can pull it up if you want.
Okay, you pull it up, and I'll do my response to it.
Okay.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. So, first of all, let's start with this. This is what I posted this morning. So
Yes.
I actually had a conversation with my father-in-law this morning, and he was super hyped, because I've been telling him to buy Bitcoin for a while, and he's first starting to feel his first Bitcoin cycle. And, he's like, wow, like number really does go up. And what I was showing him, and I've been joking about this on Bitcoin Twitter for the last couple of days, is there's no euphoria. There's no euphoria. Could you pull up psychedelic Barto's Twitter account? And there's no euphoria. And and this Google Trends analytics is showing what we're feeling. And he basically says the same thing. Opti's going to pull it up in just a second. But if you look up on Google Trends right now, we're at all-time highs. We hit 118K. Retail is still completely asleep. Think we might be going higher. And what I've been kind of making a joke of the last couple days is like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel euphoric. I don't feel a thrill. I don't feel belief. I kind of feel a little bit of disbelief because of, what we went through. The price action the last 6 months has been brutal, right? And then this kind of leads me to Wall Street cheat sheet. The way that markets work is, it's supposed to work on supply and demand, but there's a lot of psychology that goes into it, specifically when retail gets involved. So if you want to connect these two pieces, right, retail is still asleep, Bitcoin's hitting all-time highs, and the amount of interest in Bitcoin is actually trending lower, right? And this kind of coincides with how I personally believe. I'm kind of still in the disbelief phase. I'm still kind of in the, we hit 118K, but what about 150? What about 120? I don't even feel hope yet, right? Much less optimism, much less belief, much less thrill, much less euphoria. So if we're hitting all-time highs and I'm not feeling any of these feelings, just a hunch, but we might still have a little bit left to go. And by the way, I'm not the only Bitcoiner to feel this way as well. We have Psychedelic Bart. He's been around for a long time in the industry. And he says, I don't feel euphoric at all. More like what took so long, BTC to pump. And I'm like, yep, zero euphoria, right? So, this is the reality. This is the reality of the situation, man. Back to you, Opti.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because I do have some more charts here. And Lennart, I'll pass this to you at the tail end because we were talking about AI in the morning. And everyone's saying no one's on Google Trends anymore. They're probably searching on AI or, whatever, ChatGPT or whatever. So going further, Nico brought up the Google Trends. I added a little extra metric in here. We have Bitcoin in blue and we have buy Bitcoin in red. And either metric are absolutely... it's not there. It's non-existent here. But we did see this tweet this morning from Andre, who works over at Bitwise. And he goes, watch, as Nico was saying, Bitcoin's at new all-time highs and retail is literally nowhere to be found. The latest leg up is mostly driven by institutions.
He put an overlay.
Yeah.
He put an overlay. That is so useful. Yes. So, and then you kind of have to break it down. Why aren't we having these crazy kind of okay, we broke 112, and why didn't we rush up to 120? You have to understand, and when Mauricio came on the show, he kind of broke it down. He kind of explained it. When institutional money buys Bitcoin, they do it in a way not to run up the price. They don't want to run up the price. So if they're buying $500 million worth of Bitcoin, they're doing it strategically. Saylor has actually talked about this on podcast a couple times. So basically making the case like, look, like what I was doing is I was DCAing, you know, a couple million a day so that the spot price wouldn't go up, right? They don't want the spot price to go up. This is why they're called smart money in the first place. So if you can pull up that Bitwise chart once again, Opti, because someone did an overlay of this. This cycle is primarily driven by institutions. That doesn't mean that retail is not going to join the party. Retail is going to join the party, but at the current price right now, retail has no interest whatsoever, which tells me that I think we still have a long ways to go. I'm speculating here, man, but I feel it in my bones. I don't feel euphoria. I don't feel hope. I don't feel optimism. I'm kind of burnt a little bit. I'm kind of like, dude, like that summer, I mean, these last 6 months, we were supposed to be in the golden age. That was what was promised of us when the orange man was elected. And nothing. We we went from 109K down to 72,000. People were like, the bull market is over. We're back to all-time highs. And you know, this wasn't the golden age that we were promised, Opti. What is it, the golden age we were promised, man?
Yeah, he also said 150K early in the presidency.
And
we haven't got that yet.
And he took credit, too, for the all-time highs.
I'll pull that up. I'll pull that up as well.
And he took credit for the all-time highs.
Why I go look for that, Lennart, what's your thoughts on this? And actually, since you are more familiar, I know you were telling me you use AI literally for everything from the moment you wake up to the time you go to bed. So let's talk about the shorts, and then I'd like to get your take on the Google Trends. And do you think people are migrating over to using AI for those questions? And that's probably why we're not seeing that pop up on Google Trends.
I think so, but the same people that you're missing out here that don't even know what Bitcoin is yet, they're probably also not using Perplexity to search for Bitcoin. So
true.
I think you're making a good point there. But if Bitcoin were to hit like 500,000 or $1 million, I think the sleepiest people that are really sitting around and don't know anything about crypto, Bitcoin, or don't really care, or don't want to care, they'll probably start waking up. You really have to have these insane rushes. Like remember when it went from $30 to $140, something completely incredible. I think that's where you get another wave of retail that may not be interested at all, hasn't been interested in it yet.
Totally. I couldn't agree more with this. Okay, so as I was just telling you, Trump is taking credit for this here. But let's look at this series of tweets here. So we have this. I think this is the official White House account.
Oh my God! The White House is dropping Bitcoin memes.
I'm pretty sure this is the. I'm pretty sure this is the official White House meme. So the intern over at the White House Twitter doing a great job, and it goes, "Panikin's hardest hit," and it's a guy looking at his computer and the green candles.
I just gotta officially apologize to Opti because we ended the meme review on Friday. We ended the meme reviews at Simply.
Now the White House is dropping.
And now
them.
the White House is dropping memes.
Okay, but the funniest part of this, Nico, and I don't know if you saw this. You saw
Optigate confirmed, bro.
Yeah, the round 2.0 is Trump here. And so they did that meme on this quote tweet of Trump, and you can see here, he goes, "Country is now back. Tech stocks, industrial stocks, and NASDAQ hit all-time high, record highs. Crypto through the roof. Nvidia's up 47% since Trump tariffs. USA has taken in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. Country is now back. A great credit. Fed should rapidly lower rates to reflect this strength, and USA should be at the top of the list. No inflation." So, White House is memeing. Everyone's feeling good about us breaking out of the Bitcoin high here. It seems like all stocks are going good. Of course, Trump takes some credit for this, which is actually kind of hilarious, obviously. But some interesting stuff coming out here. And as we showed you with this chart here, who is really driving the price is the question. Obviously, retail is asleep at the wheel. It seems to be institutions. Well, we got an update from the ETFs here, and it's actually kind of mind-blowing. So Eric Balkunis, of course, he's the Bloomberg analyst, ETF analyst over there, and he goes, IBIT, the BlackRock ETF, blew through the $80 billion mark last night to become the fastest ETF to get there. and that took 374 days, about 5 times faster than the previous record held by VOO, which is the Vanguard SP, and it goes, which did it in 1,814 days. Also at 83 billion, it's now the 21st biggest ETF overall. The memes just kind of write themselves here, which is kind of hilarious. And then going further, again, I really like Kobayashi letter on Twitter. They're doing a really good job. This really kind of goes into what I was saying earlier. A lot of people, if you're new to Bitcoin, even us Bitcoiners get excited when you see the price go up. But it does seem like in reality, it's not so much that Bitcoin is volatile, it's that the fiat currencies are even more volatile. So they tweeted here, truly incredible. The S&P 500 in Bitcoin terms is now down minus 15% year to date. And since 2012, the S&P 500 in Bitcoin terms is down negative 99.98%. We are all witnessing history. You guys are all a part of history. And then just kind of put a, bow tie on this. As I've been saying to you guys, we have this tweet here, breaking the US dollar. The US dollar has now lost more than 10% of its value this year in its worst first half in almost 40 years, guys. So there's a lot of things going on here. Bitcoin is up 60% in 3 months. The US dollar purchasing price seems to be failing. Worst year since 1973. Gold's going up. Treasury yields are rising. Almost like deficit spending is getting worse, and this big, beautiful bill is going to expand the money supply by a lot. Let's not discount what's going on here. There might be a spending crisis, a debt crisis. What's Larry been saying? The debt crisis is upon us. Lynn Alden's been saying you can't stop this train. Maybe you can't stop the bull run after all, Nico.
I want to rephrase the big, beautiful bill to the big, beautiful print. All right, because that's really what's gonna happen in order to fund the big, beautiful bill, right? That's the reality. That's why Larry Lepardis literally wrote his last book. It's called The Big Print. That's why Lynn Alden says nothing stops this train. The U.S. government currently spends $2 trillion every single year, more than it collects in tax revenue. $2 trillion, right? That, just to kind of give you guys reference, that's bigger than the GDP of most countries on planet Earth, right? And that is the U.S. That's the U.S. government's current, fiscal policy, right? And eventually, what's going to happen is that the interest payments alone, it's unsustainable. And they keep kicking the can down the road. This experiment started in 2008. With the financial crisis, the so-called Great Recession, and the QE experiment has accelerated since then. And coincidentally, that's when Bitcoin was born. Anyways, Leonard, do you have any takes on this before we keep going?
I have a lot of takes on this. I think
I love it.
The problem started in 2013. I said someone yesterday said it started in 2014. I'm like, no, I think it was 1913. That's really where the train started leaving the station. It's just now full steam ahead now. If this big beautiful bill wants to do anything, then, and I think this is at least the philosophical attempt here, is try to drive down the energy cost by supporting nuclear power. Bringing manufacturing back, so basically increasing productivity. If you don't increase productivity through robotics and AI desperately in the United States, then what you see, this wave, this tsunami, is just going to continue, and more people are going to figure it out and drive their savings into Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all roads lead to Bitcoin. Completely agree with that take. And yeah, man. The big, beautiful bill leading to the big, beautiful print, ladies and gentlemen. We are in all-time high territory, $117,000 Bitcoin. I mean, absolutely crazy. Remember the days where you used to be able to spend $100 and get 1,000,000 sats for it? Like, I feel like
I still do that math.
But those days are long gone, and Bitcoin's grown up, man. This is crazy, and I think the party's just getting started. We've laid out the case for you guys. Retail is still asleep at the wheel. Retail is not even aware there's a party, and the party has started. The party is starting. Wall Street is aware of it. The U.S. government is aware of it. But again, markets are driven not so much institutional money, but retail markets are driven by psychology. And again, how I'm feeling right now, how Bitcoin Twitter's feeling right now, how the Google trends are feeling right now. Retail's asleep at the wheel, right? And once you get these crazy blow off tops, those are almost always retail driven. That's when you get into an Uber and the Uber driver's like, hey, have you heard of Bitcoin? That we're not even close to that yet, right? And I think that a lot of that has to do with the recent volatility that we went through. I think in November, December, we had a small kind of blow off top in November through January of this year. It was like kind of this meme coin mania / Bitcoin type of thing, and then we had that correction over the summer. But yeah, I think the future is bright. I think I'm extremely optimistic. Not right now, but I'm extremely optimistic heading into Q3 and Q4 of this year. I think it's going to be absolutely explosive. And yeah, guys, you better get your pants on. And we're about to.
Can we acknowledge the fact that Nico is no longer a perma-bear and it only took a couple $1,000s for him to flip really quickly on us, guys? I know chat noticed that.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe I'm optimistic, bro. Maybe we're not in disbelief phase.
No, I mean, let's talk about that. Last night,
let's actually ask the chat.
Well, I was going to ask him if we're going to double top or we're running.
Okay, ask the chat, and then let's go through basically the panelists. And I do want to give a shout out, by the way, to the live stream. 1,800 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X, and 100 of you guys watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. You're listening to Simply Bitcoin Live. Hosting today is Nico and Opti, and of course, our guest, the CTO of Byte Federal. We got Lennart in the house today, joining us on Simply Bitcoin. Did I mispronounce that? Is that why I'm laughing?
No, I'm laughing at this. Nico's bullish. Time to sell.
Yeah, exactly. When Nico is bullish, it is time to sell. So let's go through the panel, right? Where are we in the phase? Guys, let us know down in the chat. Just drop it in the chat.
I think it's hope.
Let us know in the chat where we are in the Wall Street cheat sheet. I'm going to ask Opti. Opti, starting with you first. Where are we?
Yeah, so last night I was kind of trolling you that you literally said on Twitter, I'm still in disbelief of this rally. So I was kind of circling it, and I tweeted it that if we are in disbelief, then buckle up because we still have a lot of room left until we all become euphoric. But this morning, me and Sophie were kind of chatting about it, and me and her's consensus is I think we're in like hope range. We're not really optimistic about this pumping forever. It's more of like I hope this is not a double top. Is kind of where I'm at right now. So that's I think I'm at hope.
You're at disbelief. If you're kind of
I'm in hope. I'm in the middle there.
Okay.
It's like I'm literally right where you get off disbelief and going into hope. That's where I'm at.
I'm personally in the disbelief kind of phase right now. Disbelief between hope. I agree with you. I think I'm where Opti's at. Lennart, what about you? Where do you think we're at in the Wall Street, the psychology of a market cycle? Where are we?
I don't know. I think I maintain two personas in one. Basically, I have two competing thoughts here. One is, each of these 4-year cycles or whatever, the percentage raise up is a little bit less than it was before. Obviously, the price is higher as well. So, you could make an argument that maybe this time around you're not going to see, I don't know, you're going to top out at 200, 250,000 or whatever. But it's still far away from here. But then there's the opposing perspective that, like you mentioned before, all the global parameters are looking at something more fundamental shifting and changing, and then you have Bitcoin at several million, and that would really definitely wake up the sleepiest person. And we've had tops like that where Bitcoin, is sitting at something that people already thought was high. If you remember, one of my favorite bull cycles was 2017. It was like you start the year at $2,000-$3,000. Everybody's it's going to go to 5,000, and that was already insane to consider. And then it went to 20. So you could have Bitcoin do something nobody expects, up or down. I DCA, so it doesn't really bother me that much.
Yeah, I think that's the best strategy, honestly, is dollar cost average. I've honestly bought the top so many times. I've bought the bottom so many times. But at the time of buying, you have no idea whether you're buying the top or the bottom. You kind of have an idea sometimes maybe that you're buying the bottom because it just becomes so incredibly obvious. But I think DCA in general over a long period of time is just the best strategy. Trying to nail the top and trying to nail the bottom is literally impossible. I've never met someone. Maybe it's just because they don't want to be known, man. Person who's been
I wouldn't tell you.
They wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't sell that. They wouldn't have a paid group. But
read this comment though. This is actually a really good comment.
Okay, so we have a comment from Jason. Jason says, up over 6x from cycle bottom, and you are in disbelief. Come on, guys. I think that's some wisdom from Jason. Jason,
nice to put like throw some cold water on us here. But
all right, and let's take a look at a lot of these. Brent says 440K by Christmas. Oof. All right, we got Parabola says early November 2013 all-time high, mid-December 2017, early November 2021 all-time high. A lot of people says we have 2021 PTSD. Miles says cycles are over. It's only up from here. Gringo Papi says I'm in
higher.
For those people who exhibit Eunice biased account, I would ask if they would. No, that has nothing to do with it.
All right, this is what I'm seeing, guys.
All your models are destroyed.
3 green, 1 red. Let's look at the last couple of greens. I don't know. I like this 2017 green candle here on the yearly.
Dude,
so we still got some run. We still got some room to run.
No one forgets the 2017 cycle, man. I mean, the 2017 cycle was historic. That 20x from $1,000 January of 2017 to 20,000 by December. Will we have an explosive end of the year? I don't know. We shall see. Stay tuned to Simply Bitcoin because we will be covering it Monday through Friday through the roller coaster that is Bitcoin. Anyways, before we move on to the next segment, I do want to give a shout out to the live show. 2,000 live viewers between YouTube and X and 100 live viewers on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying today's show, make sure to smash that like button. Really, really helps with the algos to push this message forward. I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor, the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. The reason that we recommend bitcoinwell.com here at Simply Bitcoin is because it's an automatic self-custody Bitcoin on-ramp. What the hell does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. You put in your email address here. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, and you want a white glove service, you want a dedicated account representative that you can call or text every time you want to buy Bitcoin that goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, you have to check out BitcoinWell Infinite. Go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. Every time you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell, you earn something called BitcoinWell points, and you could use these points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest, which we're going to be doing live for you guys right now. Toss a coin into the Wishing Well, get your Lightning wallets ready, and the first person to scan today's QR code has won 549 sats. By the way, if you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the Wishing Well. Every single toss, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back in just 1 second.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on StampSeed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody, we are back, and we blew past live stream numbers. 2,037 people watching live between YouTube and X. Smash that like button. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $117,400. Block height, 905,097. Sats per dollar, 852. Market cap, 2.34 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 9.89%. Decline from all-time high, negative 1.2%. And realized monetary inflation, 0.85%. Anyways, I want to talk about an interesting topic. And that topic is taxes. Now, before we get into this topic, I will say, guys, follow the law, pay your taxes, pay income tax, pay capital gains tax. You got to do, what the law is, and we advocate for, what the law is and following the law. But, at the end of the day, we are protected by the First Amendment, and we're allowed to voice our opinions about, the situation. And what I will say is, Nunya says it best. Bitcoin is money, must be tax-free. And I think that's a really incredible point. I mean, think about it for a second. Why should we be penalized for using better money? Because the way that it currently works is essentially you're saving in Bitcoin, right? If you save in fiat, you're forced to lose purchasing power. So not only are you taxed for your income, you're also getting tax by holding and saving in fiat, by earning in fiat, inflation tax, right? So that's double taxation. And you also get penalized if you choose to opt out and you choose to use Bitcoin as money, right? And here is something that Senator Lummis, the Bitcoin senator, promised at the Bitcoin conference. Unfortunately, this didn't make it into the big, beautiful bill. It was very close, but it didn't make it in. But here's the provision that she was talking about.
What's happening here at this convention and what's happening around the country with the creation of applications for engaging the Lightning Network in small purchases, for example. We want to make sure that there's a de minimis amount. So if you are buying something with Bitcoin, you are exempt from IRS reporting if it's under $600. Things like that are important to making Bitcoin very, very useful and utilitarian within the U.S. economy.
100%. Unfortunately, that was not passed. That was not included in the big, beautiful bill. But fortunately, coming up July 14th, Congress is going to be talking about Bitcoin taxes, crypto and taxes. And here's the latest and greatest from the Bitcoin senator and Charles Payne.
It is now, and that's why we want to discuss the digital asset tax legislation, because there's a whole lot of parts of this. But again, it's smart stuff because, listen, if the more it grows, we want to make sure people are protected with taxes. You want to talk about the most important parts of this?
I do. There's a part that would prevent the double taxation of digital assets. Right now, they're taxed when they're identified, and they're taxed again when they're sold. We don't do that with things like gold and cattle. We tax them when they're sold. And so we need to change that for digital assets. We're also sponsoring legislation that would create a de minimis amount that people could spend. When we're using Bitcoin as a means of exchange, we want to have a de minimis amount that can be used and spent without being subject to taxation. That amount would be about $5,000 per year. So those are a couple of the main provisions.
So, you know, again, unfortunately, the $600 provision wasn't included in the big, beautiful bill. There wasn't enough lobbying, but again, enough pressure, enough people that are holding Bitcoin that are in Congress, and then eventually, you know, they're not going to vote against their own bags. And again, this isn't unreasonable. Let me explain. If you are using euros and you're using dollars, euros, I can't believe I even said that. I need to go brush my teeth. But let's say you're using euros, right? And you exchange those euros for dollars, right? You don't get taxed for that. Like, unless it's Forex and you're purposely doing it and it's like a large capital gain that you have, you don't get taxed for exchanging dollars to euros or euros to dollars or dollars to any other fiat currency. You don't do that if you're doing it for personal reasons. Now, of course, if you're trading on the Forex and this is what you're focused on, yes, you do have to pay capital gains for that. But just for exchanging between currencies, you don't have to do that. Bitcoin is money. People are using it as money. As much as the central bankers don't want to call it money, they don't get to define what money is. The market fundamentally gets to define as money is, what money is. So, you know, why is it getting taxed as a collectible, right? It's almost like the system doesn't want you using it, almost, right? Governments say Bitcoin isn't real money. They call it property, so anytime you spend, trade, swap it, they treat it like you're selling a stock, and that means taxes. Why? Officially, it's about compliance and consumer protection. But unofficially, some might say, not here at Simply Bitcoin, of course, it's about keeping you locked into the fiat currency system. After all, Bitcoin can't be printed, it can't be frozen, and it doesn't need a central bank. If too many people start using it as actual money, well, it might raise an uncomfortable question about fiat. Why does money need inflation in order to function? What is the result of this? You're penalized for using sound money and rewarded for staying in an inflationary debt fiat money system. And here's the punchline. They tax Bitcoin like it's property because if they treat it like money, people might actually start using it. And maybe, just maybe, who knows? That's what they're afraid of. Anyways, Lennart, what are your takes on
I was
this?
gonna say, if there's something you can't say, I'll say it for you. Don't worry about it. That's totally cool. And I think you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what's happening here. It feels very much since the beginning of Bitcoin as like going in against a concrete wall of the system. Obviously, you're thinking about why would there be a taxation on money? There shouldn't be. You're absolutely right. You're getting penalized for something that operates like gold. And if you look at the history, and most of us Bitcoiners have at this point, we understand what happened with gold. A similar trajectory here is unfolding with Bitcoin, and they would love to be able to lock Bitcoin away and just print some fake token on top of it and make you use it. So I think the fight for getting Bitcoin out of the taxation, using it as money, is very important for these very reasons. I think if anything, it will highlight what's actually happening with money and has happened with money and was taken advantage by a parasite class and government to take advantage of the purchasing power and the work of the public in general. And this falls back to right at the beginning of our conversation with the insane spending of the government. There's no control of the public over it. Not really, not even after this election. And I think all of this is connected, and people start to seeing this very clearly.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you, right? And, you know, and this really started, Lennart, you said it at the beginning of the show. What happened in 1913? Creature from Jekyll Island, baby. What happened in 1913? How come the century of some of the most horrific wars in human history was the century of central banking, right? It's almost like as if unchecked, unlimited money printer, you know, funds some things that the general population doesn't necessarily agree with. It is taxation without representation. That is what money printing is all about. Make no mistake. Keep your eye on the ball. Anyways, guys, it's going to be an incredible show. Opti, any last words before the next segment?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about this, the Senator Lummis bill, of course, not to rehash what Lennart and Nico said, but my biggest take on this is just, as much as I like the effort here, the de minimis tax is too low. $5,000 a year is not enough. So I think it might be a good step forward, and everyone in the chat's like, well...
No. To be credit, it's an incredible step.
Yeah, I agree.
It gets our foot in the door.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I totally agree with that. But, you know, as a Bitcoiner, as all the things that they said, I'm like, could we raise this a little bit? Could I use this to survive?
I'm on the Mr. Hodl tip. Like, from a regulatory, again, guys, you have to follow the law, pay your taxes, all that stuff. But I'm on the Mr. Hodl tip, you know, like, no capital gains on Bitcoin sales. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
I hope that's what gets passed from a regulatory perspective, you know, and hopefully that happens in the future, of course, legally and through the democratic process. Anyways, guys, let's move on to the news segment. We have tons to talk about. We're going to be talking about the two forks in the road for humanity, one of peace, prosperity, hope, opportunity, and one of nihilism, poverty, despair, destruction. You guys have heard me say this. It's Bitcoin or the other we can't even say it anymore. Other avenue. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the news. We have tons to talk about. We'll be right back in just a second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Cold Card. If you're serious about self-custody, Cold Card is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. There is no second best. The Cold Card Q is the ultimate air-gapped Bitcoin signing device, complete with a full keyboard, large screen, camera, NFC support, and much more. Do you prefer something sleeker? The MK4 is trusted by hardcore Bitcoiners around the world. Both are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, secure and open source. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 5% off with promo code SIMPLY. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today with Cold Card.
All right, everybody, we are back, and Opti is holding the beautiful Cold Card Q. This is one of the best Bitcoin hardware wallets in the game, completely open source. You can tap to sign. You could scan the QR code to sign. You can USB-C to sign. There's so many ways to sign. This is literally the avant-garde, the best Bitcoin hardware wallet ever. And it comes in different colors, dude. Like, look at this orange one. It's dope. Like, we've been showing off the see-through one, which is cool too, but like, look at the orange one. They have it in black, they have it in red, purple just came out, blue, green.
Someone says the glow-in-the-dark one's out now.
The glow-in-the-dark one, like, head over to coldcard.com today, use promo code SIMPLY. You get 5% off anything on the Cold Card store. Anyways, I want to talk about this subject because there are two different directions civilization is heading, ladies and gentlemen. And the United States is heading towards the freedom direction. They're pro-Bitcoin. Fantastic. And the European Union is going down the other direction, ladies and gentlemen. They're doubling down on CBDC communism. I don't know why, but that is the direction that they choose to go down. So let's kind of do a deep dive breakdown into this. What is the latest news? And I keep saying this, guys, this is not a hyperbolic statement. You guys have heard me say this phrase so many times. They're very serious about it. Here's Opti's ex-girlfriend, the head of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, convicted felon, I might add, when she was the head of the IMF. What was it? Was it the IMF? I think it was the IMF, right?
I don't know. I'll fact check.
And that's why she dumped you. Anyways.
I dumped her.
And this is why CBDCs were created. CBDCs were created because Opti broke Christine Lagarde's heart. Anyways, let's check out this latest clip.
Many people are a little worried about what will happen to them with the digital euro. Can you encourage them? Why is the digital euro good for people like you and me?
A digital currency where it has been piloted, and there is only one which is clearly now launched in a very small country, but it is piloted on a fairly large scale in China, is of use and of service to all citizens. So it is not something that is good for the elite, or is good for the young, or is good for some versus others. If it is well done and if it is well implemented, it would be of service to all citizens.
So let me just kind of recap what just happened. There was someone who called and is like, "Hey, listen, I'm kind of concerned about this," and she's basically making the case would be of service for all citizens. The country that she referred to as the shining country on the hill, basically comparing it to, is China. You know, the same country that censors information left and right, the same country that doesn't necessarily have the best track record when it comes to human rights. Minimus Square. And, you know, like, let's just say it's not exactly a country that, you know, you would look up to, you know, as someone who's a free-minded individual, right? And she's basically saying, like, look, it's not going to benefit the elite. It's going to benefit everyone. That's the exact opposite of what central banking has done. Central banking completely gutted the middle class entirely. How did that happen? Well, every time you earn and save in fiat, which is most of the lower and middle classes, you get debased. Your savings get debased completely, right? If you're wealthy, you do have the means to save in assets. So it's not that you're getting wealthier when the currency is being debased, but your assets are actually going up in value, right? So that creates more wealth inequality. What a CBDC is a central bank on steroids with godlike powers. Why? Because they would be able to do exactly what China does. She brought up China. I didn't, right? So you're talking about money with expiration dates. You're talking about money that's connected with a credit system. You're talking about money that's connected with an ID. And it's not like history has shown that governments have never abused their power, right? That's never happened before. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't think that's a very good comparison between the two. And I'll just add this next tweet, which again is dystopian AF. Here's a post from the European Central Bank. There's an urgent need to channel retail savings into capital markets to develop those markets and finance EU priorities. An EU savings standard could increase retail participation, benefiting savers, boosting investment, and supporting strategic priorities. So what they're basically saying is that the EU, this European Central Bank, feels entitled to do what they want to do with your savings. That is nuts. Could you imagine? Like, you work your ass off. You pay your taxes. You are a good citizen. And they're basically saying, hey, you know what? When we need to channel those retail savings into capital markets, bro. And I'm just going to scroll. I'm not going to read any of these, but, it's just hilarious as Bitcoiners are just kind of replying to this. Bitcoin exists for this matter. Anyways, before I move on to the next topic, because that is the route that the European Union is heading down, they're doubling down on CBDCs, which, again, I think is a horrible idea. It's a continuation of the central banking system that has oppressed humanity for the last 100 years. Before I move on, Lennart, do you have any thoughts on this? And just a reminder, we are on YouTube, so let's keep it somewhat YouTube friendly.
Yeah, you know me. I have to really keep it. I really have to hold it back on this one. I was going to say, let's stay on this topic for a little while longer. No, but I think it's the same. It's the repeat. It's the same thing all over again. You have. If you look back at the history, gold, now Bitcoin. It's the idea of a more decentralized system where the individual has control over their own destiny. Where maybe the innovations and manufacturing are the ones that dictate the journey. And then you have the opposite, where the centralist dictates and holds the rest of the population in slavery or full control. The Europeans love this model very much. They're very used to it. Obviously, originally I'm a German. I'm now a US citizen. But if we look back in history, there's a certain distinction between Europeans who decided to move to America versus Europeans. So they are more inclined to enjoy that model. But it is, like you said, the centralization is slavery. If you were to say the centralist has an idea how to benefit the population and you have a communist ideal, it unfortunately clashes with reality and human reality every single time it's being tried. What actually really happens is you have a massive amount of parasites that bubble up to the top and take advantage of it, fill their pockets, and the infrastructure suffers, and the individual suffers, and their purchasing power and their future degrades. So, like you said, Bitcoin is a journey towards more freedom and towards more decentralization, and hopefully more manufacturing, innovation, and prosperity for everyone. That's
absolutely beautifully summarized. So, and then I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, like, dude, like this kind of sounds a little bit dark, like, wow, like we're kind of heading towards this world where, more control. And I also want to mention too, because I love the track record. And by the way, Opti did confirm it. So Christine Lagarde was the head of the IMF. She is a convicted felon. Don't trust me. You can verify that yourself, right? And now she is the head of the European Central Bank. And she has been calling Bitcoin a scam for quite a while now. Here's one of those tweets. Bitcoin's last stand from November 2022. November of 2022. The Bitcoin price was literally at $16,000, and it has risen 592% since then. Maybe they got that one wrong. That's just a personal opinion, though. So the European Union is heading down a certain route. They're doubling down on CBDCs. However, the shining country on a hill, the United States of America, has chosen a different path. America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. The golden age of America has begun. That is, for audio listeners, a post from the White House official White House account. And again, it has the AI crypto czar David Sachs next to President Trump and next to Bo Hines, who's in charge of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Initiative coming out of the executive branch. And here are the two realities. Here are the two paths forward, ladies and gentlemen. I'll do a kind of a quick breakdown, right? So there's two paths in front of us, and I think it's two paths for humanity. There's a fork in the road for humanity. You can make this full screen, Opti, if you want. Actually, no. Pull up the. I like the tweet. But there's two paths, right? Path number one is U.S. versus Europe. The U.S. for now is the most Bitcoin-friendly major country. Miners are public, ETFs are live. Politicians like Trump, Lummis, Emmer are openly pro-Bitcoin. It's not perfect, but Bitcoin has still room to breathe. Europe, not so much. MiCA regulations prioritize surveillance, friendly stablecoins and compliant altcoins. Self-custody is quietly discouraged, and proof of work remains under pressure. Bitcoin isn't banned, but it's certainly not welcome. MiCA is marketed as consumer protection, but it also lays the groundwork for a digital euro. Transactions over 1,000 euros, tracked. Peer-to-peer, monitored. Privacy, optional. The ECB has made it clear. Cash is on the way out, and programmable digital money is coming in. the bigger picture, freedom or friction. Europe is the test lab. If CBDCs work there, other regions will follow. The question is, do you want money that's neutral and open, or one that can be limited, taxed, or frozen based on your behavior? Bitcoin equals the peaceful exit. For now, Bitcoin is still legal, still usable, still yours, but that window won't stay open forever. The time is to opt out is before the gates close, not before. Bitcoin or control, cold storage or digital rails, the choice is still yours for now. That's what I'll say. This is the future ahead of us as the human race, and we got to choose. Do we want a continuation of central banking, or do we want a currency that is not controlled by anyone? It has rules without rulers. It has absolute scarcity, and of course, that currency is Bitcoin. The choice is yours, ladies and gentlemen. Which system do you want to choose? Housing has gotten cheaper if you've been saving in Bitcoin. Everything's gotten cheaper if you've been saving in Bitcoin. If you've been saving in fiat, including CBDCs, everything has gotten more expensive. Remember, CBDCs, as much as they get promoted as, you know, the end all be all to fix all these problems, they don't fix a lot of fundamental issues. And what are those fundamental issues? They don't fix inflation. They don't fix censorship resistance. Because if you happen to live in, let's say, Afghanistan, you happen to live in Cuba, you happen to live in a totalitarian country, I think it should be a human right for you to be able to save in a currency that can't be censored or debased. I don't think that's too crazy to ask. I don't think that's a crazy, unreasonable statement that I'm making, right? Because they're trying to frame it as if we're crazy. Like unhosted wallets we are the crazy ones. I would say, I don't agree. I would say, you know, being forced to use a money that steals from you, that debases, I think that's pretty crazy. And I think the only reason that people haven't spoken up about this in the past is because there wasn't another option. And now what's really crazy, and this is one of the things that I love about Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin exposes incentives. So Bitcoin brings up a mirror and it says, hey, you can't make us go away. We're fully decentralized. You're going to have to compete with us on the open market. And incentives always beat coercion. Lennart and I know this very well, right? So my money is on incentives. My money's on Bitcoin winning. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to try to remain and keep control, because this is what it's fundamentally about. Under the guise of consumer protection, fundamentally what this comes down to is control over the populace. If you control the money, you control the people. Anyways, Lennart, final thoughts before we move on. And again, we are on YouTube. We love YouTube, by the way. Incredible platform.
It's funny that you always mention that before you switch over to me. We had a very nice conversation, Nico and I, at the conference, Bitcoin conference. Now he's really scared, but no, I totally agree with you. I think Bitcoin is freedom, and that's why I got into it. That's why I'm excited about it. And the opposite is very clear. It's shown its trail of blood in the last century. You do have people in a central state that think that they can do better and they can make better decisions than the rest of the population. Usually that's not the case. You know, maybe you could say even in China, where you have, let's say, PhDs and engineers or whatever running the country and in many ways benefiting their citizens, when it comes to being outspoken and say the things you do want to say, you get censored. And there's, with the money control, CBDC control, and control over the social media, you basically disappear. If that's the type of future you want to live in, then that's not the one that I think most of us here in the North American continent would like to enjoy.
Very, very well said. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, 2,500 live viewers between YouTube and X. Smash that like button. Almost 600 live viewers on YouTube, 100 live viewers on Rumble. Smash that like button. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have a ton of content. We're going to be talking to the CTO of Byte Federal, Lennart, about Byte Federal during the culture segment. So stay tuned. We will be right back in just 1 second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes self-custody easy and secure. As a Bitcoiner, I care about holding my own private keys, but multi-sig can sometimes get tricky. Casa nails it with a multi-key security. So even if one key gets lost or stolen, your Bitcoin stays safe. And you don't give up custody, meaning no one could access your Bitcoin but you. No seed phrase anxiety, no single point of failure. I've been telling my friends and family about Casa for years. Their UX and UI on their app is by far the best in the industry. Inheritance planning is built in, and they even offer Casa for Business if you're thinking about a Bitcoin treasury. Hit up casa.io today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium. Head over to casa.io.
All right, everybody, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're in the culture segment. We're about to do a deep dive with Lennart into Byte Federal. He's pulling up the Byte Federal website. Lennart, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure for having me. I enjoyed very much.
So, Lennart, talk to us a little bit about Byte Federal. For anyone who doesn't know, Byte Federal, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the largest Bitcoin ATM companies in the United States of America. They offer a variety of different products, like, of course, the ATMs, the Vault, the POS.
It's a point of sale, yeah, for
point of sale. If you're a merchant, right? And they have find a Bitcoin ATM near me, which you could put in your address, and it'll tell you the closest ATM. Opti put in Texas, but he forgets he lives in Miami now.
Let's not dox us here.
And anyways, So let's go through this, Lennart. What is Byte Federal? What makes you guys unique? And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself as well?
I'll do both. So Byte Federal is an interesting beast. So we started in 2016, one of the first Bitcoin ATM operations in the United States. And that's quite a difficult space to be in, to be honest. So you're immediately clashing heads with banks, regulators, and then of course the whole crypto world, and you have to navigate that very, very well. Because you're in a highly regulated industry when it comes to cash transport, logistics. As you can see on the map, we're at this point in 42 states, about 1,400 locations, retail locations. A lot of them are 24/7 operating with a very reliable network. Very proud of our network, servicing customers in across the continental US, also Australia. And the story, like I said, started 2016. It's me, it's two friends of mine. We started this business, and it's been quite a ride. I personally, as you can hear from my accent, I'm originally from Germany, East Germany. I was actually born in communist East Germany. My parents fled when I was 8 years. I got lucky, so to speak, not really lucky. My dad is quite something if you meet him. And so we escaped East Germany, and I grew up in Austria and Vienna, and lived some time in Germany, later studied, and after the reunification, and then eventually after some years in Asia, came to the United States and became full citizen a few years ago. The world of Byte Federal is intense and interesting. We started with this retail network on the ground, which is amazing. People can use their cash to purchase and sell Bitcoin. Most of them buy Bitcoin. And we've built our digital footprint up from there. We went into the wallet space, banking as a service, integrated into our wallet. We now branched out to two types of wallet. One that's going to launch here very soon is a fully custodial wallet, make it simpler and easier for some people that are not comfortable with seed phrases. The other one is our first wallet that we developed, which is we renamed as Vault, which is more for the pro Bitcoiner. And then we also went into the merchant sector because we really believe, just like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, that it's very important for Bitcoin to be used as money for all the reasons that we gave earlier. And the point of sale is an API in the background that allows merchants to set up their shop all legally and beautifully above board, and also have a point of sale system, because sometimes they just don't work very well with a phone. Sometimes you need your clerk in your store needs a device that's separated out and that does everything without you having to think about it, printing receipts and all of that. So it's a whole merchant platform, a wallet, and a retail location across the United States.
That's awesome, man. And your story too is, it makes a whole lot of sense as to why you'd be interested into something like Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Living in being born into a totalitarian system. It makes sense why you would want a permission. You would, focus your career on building out the infrastructure for a permissionless money.
Yeah, I came across the Bitcoin white paper in 2011. I think Bitcoin was around $1, if I remember correctly, and it just immediately, if you have a history like that, I had very libertarian leanings, and it just speaks to you right away. And then my background is computer science. I studied computer science, and you see the Byzantine generals' solution there, and you're like, okay, wow, that. I'm surprised this gentleman didn't publish this in a scientific journal or so. But obviously now in hindsight, it all kind of makes a lot of sense where and how Bitcoin got launched and what would have happened if it was launched, not anonymously, but in a different fashion, that it could be taken down and could be taken apart. Which in the very beginning, we actually frankly thought this is, if the government really understands what's happening here, it can't let it run this. And the Chinese obviously kind of understood it at some point, and tried to stop it. But it's the power of the network effect, the power of an idea. You can't put it back into its box. It's out, and it has advantages over gold. In particular, I had a conversation with Peter Schiff. I couldn't hold myself back at the Bitcoin conference about the very cryptographic technical factors that make it so much harder to attack than gold that you have to schlep around and eventually end up keeping in a safe place, only to be replaced. So we definitely, my big talking point with Bitcoin in particular is like, always keep your eyes open. Don't forget the history of money, where it's coming from, and what the powers that be try to do to the network in order to retain their own control, non-productive control, I will say, over the economy.
Yeah, 100%. So let's pivot the conversation back to Byte Federal. You guys, again, 3 products that I saw from the website. What differentiates the Byte Federal ATMs?
So the really cool thing about Byte Federal is we build everything in the US. We're the only operator and manufacturer of Bitcoin ATMs in the United States. So we have the sheet metal, or the chassis coming in on the one side, and the fully assembled, programmed ATM going out on the other, getting installed, getting maintained, operated. The whole network is controlled by our software stack, not just the kiosk front end, but also the administrative side. So you have a full stack operation in-house from the ground up, including the wallet and the point of sale. So that sets us really apart from everyone else. Most operators that you see out there, they buy an ATM over here, they buy the software over there, and they operate. With Byte Federal, it's a very different story. It's all in-house. It's all we did it before it was sexy, if you will, to the SpaceX model, to have the full control over your stack, and it gives you a lot more flexibility. If we want to make a change to the software, if we want to add some other partner into our network, it's very easy for us to do that, make changes, especially from a regulatory perspective. If something changes on the state level or so, we can react very, very quickly.
Incredible. So let's move on to next product I think I saw, which was the Vault. What is that?
Yeah, so the Vault story starts in 22. After we had successfully established ourselves as a Bitcoin ATM network, we branched out to the wallet, because obviously a lot of people come to the ATM. It's very often the first touch point for people to try out Bitcoin. I have like this funny story. I will tell this one little story where in the early days, Bitcoin ATMs, where I was at one ATM kind of maintaining and looking at it. I saw the parking lot, two elderly folks coming along, walking across, and like in a heated debate with a young gentleman. And then they entered the gas station where our Bitcoin ATM was. And so you could see that the young kid, it turned out to be their son, had like tried to explain Bitcoin to them for a very long time. And he was completely exhausted, and he didn't understand what he wanted from them. And then he walks into the gas station and he points to the Bitcoin ATM and says like, "Mom and Dad, this is Bitcoin." And so they're like, now we're understanding. We know what to do. That was kind of really, really cute and interesting to see. But yeah, we realized there was a need for wallets, and wallets in particular that are very simple and easy to use. So we branched out and built our own wallet, which we're very proud of. And like I said, we're going to soon supplement it with a custodial wallet that's a little bit simpler to use. But this one has a lot of power, a lot of features. Digital notary, for instance, you can notarize documents in the wallet and hash those on the Bitcoin blockchain. So a lot of interesting features and details that went into that product.
I love that. So let's talk about the point of sale. If you're a merchant, I think this is really cool, especially like here in the United States, right? You know, a lot of the point of sales are credit card focused, right? So what is the Byte Connect? How does it differentiate itself from, let's say, Square, or even though we love Jack Dorsey and what he's doing over there, but other points of sales, which I'm not familiar with, but there's plenty of them, right? So what differentiates Byte Connect from everybody else?
Yeah, there are some out there. It's a very difficult market. So I applaud definitely Jack Dorsey for trying to push it. It's a lot of the startups that have been in this space, they go just bankrupt after a while. One of the reasons is just the difficulty for Bitcoin as money, which we alluded to also in the beginning of the show. So I hope Senator Lummis has success with it. It will make it easier. If you get taxed on transactions, it's really difficult to use. But for instance, we didn't see a lot of support for Bitcoin merchant software in the beginning when we started out. So we felt like it's a natural supplement to what we already offer, and went headfirst into the space. But learned a lot. Lightning is enabled on our wallets as well, and the point of sale system. So making it really easy for merchants. You do run into some regulatory issues in the United States. In Australia, for instance, our team there is, as far as we know, the only one that got a payment application license from Austrac. In the US, you need money transmission licenses in some models of this method. So it's tricky. It's not that easy to set up, just even from a regulatory perspective, and make sure that the merchants have everything that they need.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. Last thing I wanted to point out too, and I think this is going to start happening more and more. Transform your real estate transactions with Bitcoin. What does that mean, Lennart?
So here we partnered with a company called Neo. They do new estate only. It's a very interesting also startup that it's not around for too long, but they've made huge strides in the market, and we've become their main Bitcoin transaction hub, if you will. So if someone wants to buy a new property through Neo, then Byte Federal will help. But in general, the platform is built generically speaking for anyone who wants to do a real estate transaction. So it's just, if you think about it, the whole platform that we have in the back end contains the KYC ML process that the banks and the companies require that are involved in this process, and then we just facilitate the transfer and conversion of Bitcoin to US dollars.
That's fantastic, man. Very cool. Guys, go check out bytefederal.com. This is Lennart, the CTO, started in 2016. And again, Lennart was able to identify Bitcoin, very similar reasons to why I was able to identify Bitcoin. Just our home countries, went down some certain paths, and, Bitcoin is a tool of freedom fundamentally, right? So, Lennart, it's been an honor to have you on today's show, on the Friday show of Simply Bitcoin. Today's July 11th, 2025. I'm your host, Nico. This is my legendary co-host, Nihilus Fields. And, of course, our special guest for today, Lennart, the CTO of Byte Federal. Again, go check out bytefederal.com. Love you guys. We'll see you guys on Monday for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.